Last time we talked about how David was the underdog or underestimated because of his age and capabilities. We learned that as believers, we should never underestimate ourselves or even others. Also, that no matter how people view us, we know that God has called us to do great and mighty things. When we feel overlooked, God always sees us. When God has called you, that means He has and will always see you, hear you, and love you. If God has called you to do something, live somewhere, receive a promotion, get accepted to a certain school or program, He will see to it. God has a way of humbling or silencing your haters, and I've personally seen it in my life. Something I've learned along the way is that if you trust God, you don't have to be prideful, manipulative, or flex to get something done. You do the work, you do what you have to do. You trust God and you allow Him to show you off. If you start flexing and boasting about what you can do, can God really get the glory? Like, really? Every leadership position I've ever had, it was all a God promotion. It was God promoting me, because I did the work. I was out in the field just doing what I had to do, just like David. I talked with God and I allowed God to make room for my gifts. I've been overlooked. You've probably been overlooked. You've probably been underestimated before. I know what that feels like. But God is very funny because He will put you in circles or environments to prove that you and I should never be underestimated. I remember a time where I was volunteering somewhere and some of the decision makers didn't take me seriously. Why? Only God knows. I thought they knew my resume. But who knows? But I'm glad I experienced it for this exact point. Just like David, with experience out in the field, killing it here and there, I was underestimated until someone else came along and asked about me. It was a God moment. It was complete God. Because just like David in 1 Samuel 16, God proves to His haters that He is not one to be overlooked or underestimated. He is the one. You are the one. I am the one. God had this one person to discuss and reflect on what I've accomplished and done months and even years back. This was not staged. This was all God. And my mind is like blown because this was all God. And as I'm talking to that person, I just saw in the corner of my eye that person's demeanor changed. The person that was hating on me, their whole demeanor changed. Their whole demeanor changed. I didn't flex. I didn't boast. God told me to volunteer there. I didn't throw a temper tantrum when they were telling me to do things that I knew were beneath me. Like, what is beneath you, but I remained humble. And I was just like, God, I literally found myself, I was just like, God, I can do so much more here. Like, I can offer so much more, but they don't want it. But you know what? You told me to be here. I'm going to be here. Boom. That was it. That was my heart posture. God told me to do it, so I'm going to do it. Just like David out in the fields, tending to the sheep. He was just like, you know what? My father said to tend to the sheep. So you know what? I'm going to do it because I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. But whatever my father says, I will do. I will do. And God sees that heart posture. He sees that humble heart. God will go to great lengths for you to be positioned into your destiny. He will have people search you down and not move until they find you. God is determined to put the ones He calls into their destiny. So when Samuel the prophet went to God about who the next king would be after Saul, the Lord said to go to Jesse's house. So let's read it in 1 Samuel 16:10 through 13. Verse 10, Jesse presented his 7 sons to Samuel. But Jesse had 8 sons in total. Boo. So verse 10, Jesse presented his 7 sons to Samuel. Samuel was blunt with Jesse and he's like, God hasn't chosen any of these. Verse 11, then he asked Jesse, is this it? Are there no more sons? Pause. Why wasn't David there when Samuel came to their home? Did Jesse think David wasn't good enough to be in Samuel's presence? Have you ever felt like David, where other people felt like you weren't good enough? The one that didn't get the memo, or the one that you just, it's just like, bro, like, I'm here. Like, why do you keep overlooking me? Let's jump to verse 11. Then he asked Jesse, is this it? Are there no more sons? Well, yes, there's the runt. but he's out tending the sheep. Samuel ordered Jesse, go get him. We're not moving from this spot until he's here. God is determined to put the ones he called into their destiny. You are the one. You are the one. You are worth it. You are so worth it. Never think that you are worthless. Let's go to verse 12. Jesse sent for him. He was brought in, the very picture of health, bright-eyed, good-looking. God said, up on your feet, anoint him. This is the one. The next verse, hold up. I'm sorry. Before I even continue. God said, this is the one. David is the one. The next verse is a testimony to staying faithful to God, having a relationship with God, and knowing that God sees you, God sees you. He has called you, and he says that you are the one. Let's go to verse 13. Boom, come on. Samuel took his flask of oil and anointed him with his brothers, standing around watching. What? Watching. The Spirit of God entered David like a rush of wind, God vitally empowering him for the rest of his life. Say this right now. I am the one. Say it right now. I am the one. The Lord wanted David to be anointed in front of everyone. Prove to never underestimate, overlook, or belittle someone. You are the one God called to be a doctor, a preacher, a teacher, an entrepreneur or a scientist, or whatever else you are called to be. God sees you and says that you are the one. David killed Goliath, a lion, and a bear as a teenager. What skills or lessons have you learned along the way? Are you taking care of you or just everyone else? I know you went through some things, or you're going through some things right now. Are you talking to someone about it? Are you getting therapy? Are you going to God and not Merlot or tequila? God is with you, beloved. He sees you and he got you. Whatever your Goliath is or was, you have the tools to slay that giant. Trust and rely on God. He will show you the way and how to do it. You will break the negative generational behaviors that were passed down. You will go and finish college. You will get married and then have children. You will have a healthy and a lasting marriage. And you will experience every one of your dreams. God says he sees you and that you are the one. Every day you say, I am the one. Say it with this strong conviction where you believe it when you feel like you don't. If God said in Psalm 17:8 that we are the apple of his eye, then we should believe it. Or John 15:16 that he chose us and appointed us to go out into the world and bear great fruit, that we should believe it. I am praying for you and I am rooting you on in faith. Be encouraged.